There are no monsters in Goodnight Mommy, the new original from Prime Video, nor is there bloodshed and gore, and yet it manages to give you chills all the way down your spine. It's a brilliant psychological thriller that uses the most familiar elements in all our lives, home and family, to become sinister forces that can simply not be trusted. This film is really a tour de force in the genre, so stay with us as we explore the story, the actors, and the original film this classic is based on. First up, this film is a reimagining of. Goodnight Mommy is based on the 2014 Austrian classic of the same name, but it introduces a whole new collection of twists and turns as the story unfolds. Elias and Lucas, twin brothers played by Cameron and Nicholas Crovetti, lead us into the film. It starts with their birth in an isolated country house when their father delivers them. During their parents' tense separation, the two kids fall under their father's care, and we find out that now, in the current time, their mother, Naomi Watts, is completely indifferent to them. Something has happened to her face, although we don't know what yet. It's completely bandaged up, except for her eyes and mouth. We do know that the bandages are the result of surgery, but we have no idea what kind of procedure they were, and no information is offered up. Then, the boys are shocked by their mother's appearance. When they arrive home after a long absence, the boys are clearly shocked by their mother's appearance. She also suggests that their father should have told them about everything, but doesn't say why. Also, she has a whole new set of rules for her home, all of which are unwelcoming to the extreme. The two lads have to move around the home without making the slightest sound, and the curtains are to remain closed at all times. And for some reason, she keeps on reprimanding the two for bad behavior without telling them what it was. Many people have been saying that Naomi Watts is simply brilliant in this film. Stay with us as we explore more in a moment. And then, everything becomes even more unsettling. The more time the boys spend in the house, the crazier their mother's behavior and attitude seems to become. She eventually throws away a picture the two lads made for her, and the two start to suspect that this isn't their mother after all. Then, Naomi Watts is brilliant as always. Goodnight Mommy is elevated to the kind of classic, terrifying horror extravaganza it is by Naomi's fantastic performance. She makes the most of the touching family drama parts of the story, and her acting is legendary for the way she keeps giving hints that things are not what they seem to be. The Aussie actress takes the audience on a fantastical journey, even with her face bandaged. She shows the character's feelings through her eyes the whole time, and she does it in a stunning way. There are moments in the film when the audience cannot help but hate her, and then there are times that evoke deep empathy for the character. Naomi Watts' performance is at the same time brilliant and unnerving. You'll stay in your seat until the last credits have rolled, and you'll keep thinking about the character's motivation for days after the film is all over. The story leans on the original, but with all kinds of tweaks. We'll be exploring those shortly. Remember to keep watching. Also, the twins are brilliant. The Crovetti brothers are simply fantastic in the film too, and it's no wonder they received the critical acclaim they did. They previously starred with Nicole Kidman in Big Little Lies, and there they proved themselves to be unusually skilled actors. One of the greatest childhood fears we can face is that the people we love most will become total strangers. This is what the Crovettis do brilliantly throughout the story. They grapple with the person they believe is a stranger, but who's been put in their mother's place for some reason. Then, the twists and turns in the plot. The shocks and scares in the plot have all been carefully placed for maximum effect, and the story itself has a tension that burns slowly and builds up scene by scene. You'll jump from the couch more than once, that's a guarantee. On the surface, Goodnight Mommy is simply a brilliantly crafted horror film, but dig a little deeper and it becomes something different. The plot looks at the complicated nature of family life, the ups and downs of being a mother, and the possible dangers of growing up and leaving behind a safe childhood. There's a lot of foreshadowing in this film, and if you saw the original, this may even be easier to pick up, so stay with us as we bring you that in a moment. So, did the story tweaks make the film better than the original? Matt Sobel directed the film, and he leaned somewhat on Severin Fiala's movie from back in 2014. In short, he brings the mother, returning from cosmetic surgery, back to the screen in this reimagining. Many critics are saying that the tweaks work, and that the English version can actually stand on its own feet. Sobel didn't adjust the original ending at all, which was also a pivot for the story to work as well as it does, and hints at the ending's heartbreak are scattered throughout the film. If you ever saw the original Goodnight Mommy, you'll certainly be able to pick up on the clues that Lucas was never really a part of the story. He died. Every scene where Elias is in conversation with another character, this could be the two police officers they come across later in the film, or even their mother, is framed so that Lucas is never directly addressed by anybody. A bigger hint, again for anyone who had seen the original, is revealed when the mother starts ripping up Elias's drawings when he signs them as from both Lucas and himself. She then demands Elias listen to her and ignore his brother. When Elias turns to ask Lucas about the red stains in the barn, and Lucas says it's probably red paint, Lucas tries to convince his twin brother that there their mother isn't really their mother after all. The final twist comes when viewers realize it's the overactive imagination of a child that refuses to believe his brother has actually died. This is perfectly in line with the original, and we're going to tell you how the new release ends, and how it compares in horror terms with the original. Watch to the end. So how does the original movie's ending differ, if at all? The story and plot changes, as well as the storytelling style, are just two of the differences between the original and the new Prime release. The new film positions itself as a mystery and a compelling family drama in one. The original, by comparison, is completely creepy. It's a typical slow-burn horror fest that has many more disturbing scenes of the twins. However, the climax in both films remains basically the same, and towards the end, the twists are more or less in line with each other too. The Austrian version of Goodnight Mommy has Elias burn down the house and kill both his mother and himself, and the final shot hints at the three of them, mother and two sons, being reunited in the afterlife. Also, in the original, Elias never has the burning confrontation with his mother, in which he tells her he doesn't believe she's actually his mother. In the new release, things go a different way. Elias doesn't die in the fire was accidental, and his mother, like his brother Lucas, is now part of his delusions. The final shot of the remake is probably a lot more powerful than the original version. In this version, Elias never really meant to cause harm to his mother, and you get that from the plot and acting throughout the film. Everything builds up to this emotional attachment to the character. In 2014, Elias was nothing but a tsunami of vengeance, unstoppable and propelled by misguided hatred. Finally, what really happens at the end of the film? At first, Elias, played by Cameron Crevetti, he's also Ryan in The Boys by the way, starts to see through his brother's deception. The audience realizes that Naomi Watts is actually his real mother. When that happens, he cuts her loose from the bed he'd taped her to and apologizes. See, it's already a lot tamer, emotionally, than the original. She then takes him out to the barn. Remember, that's the only place on the property that's always been off limits. They ascend to a hayloft, and she has him look at the red stain he'd asked Lucas about. Initially, Elias refuses to even glance at the blotch, but with his mother reassuring him and convincing him that nothing was ever his fault, he looks down and sees a bullet hole. It was made by the bullet that accidentally killed his twin brother. Elias still has trouble believing that his brother is actually dead, and that he's been nothing more than a figment of his own imagination the whole time. Eventually, he pushes his mother out of frustration. She falls from the loft and her lantern breaks. The hay catches fire, and Elias makes it out. His mother doesn't. In the end, Elias is approached by both his mother and Lucas. Both tell him he never did anything wrong. Although the ending is a lot less harsh than in the original Austrian film from 2014, it has an explosive emotional component that makes it well worth seeing. In fact, it's one of the best horror movies of the year as far as we're concerned, simply because it's so well made, the acting is superb, and the plot has been masterfully handled. And with that, we end today's video. Keep your eyes open for our next upload.